Welcome to the Just Nuke It podcast.
Oh, yeah.
This week,
It's going to be a good one.
we're launching an apocalyptic probe into two chilling flash fiction stories
Oh, I love it. Apocalyptic probe.
that explore survival against overwhelming odds.
Right.
Forget the usual disaster tropes.
Yeah.
These tales delve into unique forms of apocalypse
Okay.
and the surprising sources of hope that emerge.
Interesting.
Get ready for action-packed narratives distilled down to their core.
Right, I'm ready.
Rate and follow the show for more captivating stories from the Just Nuke It podcast.
Please do.
Our first apocalyptic probe takes us to Last Spark of Magic.
Oh, okay.
Imagine a world not destroyed by bombs,
What
but
else?
consumed by a living darkness called the Void.
I like it already.
The only survivors are children sheltered in the Arcane Academy.
Interesting.
You shared the story, perhaps drawn to the idea of children as the last hope.
Yeah, I think there's something really potent about that idea. You know? Children as the last bastion of humanity. And especially in this context, where it's not just like rebuilding society after adults have messed things up, right?
Right, yeah.
It's about them facing this completely alien threat,
Yeah,
this void that's consuming the world.
yeah.
And they have to come up with their own solutions, their own ways of fighting back.
The challenge these children face isn't just survival,
Right.
but mastering half-remembered spells
Okay.
against slithering whispers and warped reflections.
Whoa.
The void beasts. We see healers struggling, builders creating wards that fail.
So they're like piecing together this knowledge, right?
Right.
From whatever scraps they have left.
And it's not enough.
Not working.
Now, introduce Rowan, a young boy whose meager talent is finding lost things,
Okay.
highlighting his initial feelings of uselessness.
So he doesn't have like the big flashing powers.
No, and it's so interesting. You get this image of the Arcane Academy as this sprawling, drafty relic.
Uh-huh.
And these kids are essentially fending for themselves with these fragmented bits of magical knowledge.
Yeah, it's almost like they're haunted by the ghosts of what used to be.
Yeah.
Like all this knowledge that's just out of reach.
Rowan, especially, you feel for him.
Yeah.
His ability seems so insignificant against this overwhelming threat. It really sets the stage for a unique kind of hero's journey. What struck you most about this initial feeling of uselessness in the face of such a huge threat?
You know, I think it's something that a lot of people can relate to, right? Not just in these like end of the world scenarios, but just in everyday life.
Right.
Feeling like you don't have the skills or the resources to face the challenges in front of you. But I think what the story does so well is it shows how even those seemingly small abilities can become crucial when you look at them in a different way.
Then the narrative takes a fascinating turn
Okay.
with the arrival of Miri, who represents a complete break from the failing traditional approaches and injects a new kind of hope into the Arcane Academy.
Okay.
Not a traditional teacher, but a whirlwind of muddy boots and defiant laughter.
I love that description.
Her unconventional approach, forget levitating candles, she says,
Yeah.
instead focusing on practical, intuitive magic. Her interaction with Rowan in the abandoned kitchens is key, sensing the thrum deep in the stones, a memory of warmth, and creating a pulse that pushes back the void. This feels pivotal. What was it about that interaction that shifted the dynamic so significantly?
Well, I think Miri embodies this idea of adaptability, right?
Yeah.
She's not bound by the old ways of doing things. She sees the potential in the everyday, in the remnants of what they've lost. And that scene in the kitchens, it's like she's teaching Rowan to see magic not as this abstract force, but as something that's connected to the very fabric of their world.
This moment showcases a crucial theme. Their power lies not in tradition, but in unity and resourcefulness. The healers adapt, seeking harmonies within the body. The builders use salvaged materials, toys transmuted to steel, bedtime stories woven into charms. Rowan finds his purpose, seeking flickers of warmth and joy to fuel their resistance.
So it's about using what they have, right?
Right.
In new and creative ways. They're not just relying on these ancient spells that might not even be relevant anymore.
And it's not just about individual talent anymore.
Yeah.
It's about everyone bringing what they have to the table,
Yeah.
no matter how small or unconventional it might seem.
Exactly.
The toys turned into steel.
Yeah.
That's such a striking image of childhood innocence repurposed for survival.
The powerful image.
This really highlights how, in desperate situations, familiar objects can take on entirely new and vital roles. It speaks to the power of adaptability and seeing potential where it wasn't obvious before.
Right. I mean, I think that's something we see throughout history, right? In times of crisis, people find ways to use what they have in unexpected ways. Like during wartime, you see factories retooled to produce weapons or everyday items repurposed for military use.
Despite their resilience, they are still children experiencing fear and loss.
Right.
But they are also something new, forged not within the musty halls of tradition, but amidst the chaos. Their magic is described as heart, grit, and wild, desperate hope.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
The intro should end by noting the whispers of their light spreading through the void, setting up the ongoing struggle. It's important to remember they aren't these stoic, hardened warriors. They're kids who are scared but finding this incredible strength in their shared struggle. That description of their magic heart, grit, and wild, desperate hope, it's so raw and powerful.
It really is.
And the idea of their light pushing back against this all-consuming darkness, it leaves you with a sense of hope, even amidst the bleakness.
It does, it's not a guaranteed victory, but it's this ember of defiance, you know, that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, there's still this possibility for light to break through.
Our second apocalyptic probe shifts the scene to a different kind of devastation.
Okay.
In a flash fiction story called Elixir of Hope. This time, the apocalypse is a blight poisoning the earth. You provided this story maybe intrigued by the theme of healing and the power of nature.
Yeah, I think this story really resonated with me because it explores a more grounded, almost intimate kind of apocalypse.
Yeah.
It's not this grand cosmic event, but something that's slowly eroding the very foundation of life.
We're in the ruins of the Alhambra, where Zahara, a young woman, an old woman called an alchemist, a mender of green things, roams.
I see.
Emphasize her connection to the surviving plants, listening to the whispers of chlorophyll and fading life. The Grand Archive, now cracked and wisdom turned to dust, becomes her sanctuary, focusing on margin notes formulas scrawled in fading ink. So instead of the sprawling academy, we have this very solitary figure in the ruins of a once grand place.
Right. It's a very different kind of setting.
Her connection isn't to other people initially, but to the few remaining signs of life.
Right. She's finding solace in the natural world and the remnants of what used to be.
And it's not the grand texts that hold the key, but these little forgotten details. It's a much more isolated picture of survival.
Yeah, it's about paying attention to the small things, to the nuances that others might overlook.
Highlight Zahara's discovery, a formula, fractured and incomplete.
Okay.
Not for grand transformation, but for coaxing life back. The ingredients are mysterious. Blood of the earth, the heart of the tempest, hinting at something beyond simple chemistry. Her journey to find the geothermal heat of a dry riverbed, the ozone scent in canyons, illustrates her role as a translator between a dying world and the hopeful scrawls of forgotten lore. It's not this magical cure-all. It's something that requires effort, understanding, and a deep connection to the ravaged landscape.
She's not just following a recipe, right?
Right.
She's interpreting these ancient texts, these fragments of knowledge, and understanding how they relate to the world around her.
These ingredients, blood of the earth and heart of the tempest, they sound almost mythical.
Yeah.
But her journey makes them feel real, tied to the very forces of nature.
Right. It's like she's rediscovering the language of the earth.
Introduce the conflict as the first signs of healing appear.
Okay.
Tendrils of sickly green. Rumors spread and armed survivors arrive.
Oh, boy.
Not plague spawn, but those clinging to old ways. Their leader demands the elixir as a weapon. Zahara's powerful response, offering seeds instead of a solution, showcases a different kind of hope and the importance of collective effort. Here's where the human element, the potential for both good and bad, really comes into play.
Right?
These aren't monsters, they're just other survivors.
Yeah.
But their instinct is to control, to weaponize. And Zahara's response is so powerful.
It is.
She's not offering a quick fix, but the potential for long-term healing through collaboration.
Right. It's about empowering others, giving them the tools to rebuild rather than trying to control the solution herself.
What did you make of that choice to offer seeds rather than the elixir?
Yeah, it's such a powerful statement about the nature of hope and healing.
Yeah.
It's not about this instant fix, but about the slow, patient process of nurturing life back into the world.
Yeah.
And it's a recognition that true healing can't be forced. It has to come from a place of shared understanding and collaboration.
The seas, born of ancient lore and the stubborn resilience of the wounded earth, represent both salvation and potential ruin. The whispers of plants quickening their growth, warped and monstrous, of armed men disappearing, add a layer of suspense and complexity to the idea of healing.
So there's this sense of unease, right? Like
Yeah.
even as healing is taking place, there's still this undercurrent of danger.
Zahara, no savior, but a bearer of a fragile, extraordinary choice, stands at the center of this struggle. So it's not a guaranteed happy ending.
No.
There's still danger, still uncertainty. The healing itself could have unforeseen consequences, and human nature remains a wild card. Zahara isn't a superhero. She's just someone who has found a way forward. But the path is fraught with peril. It really highlights the unpredictable nature of trying to restore a damaged world.
And the idea that even the best intentions can have unintended consequences.
So what does this apocalyptic probe reveal when we consider these two flash fiction stories together? In Last Spark of Magic, unity and embracing unconventional strength become humanity's defense against an encroaching void. You saw children, often overlooked as the potential saviors, their raw emotion and connection forming a powerful magic.
Yeah. Last Spark of Magic really highlights the power of collective spirit, of finding strength in each other when everything else seems lost. And it challenges us to reconsider our assumptions about where power and resilience reside.
Then, in Elixir of Hope, we witness the power of healing and the difficult choice of how that power is used. Zahara's story highlights the importance of not just finding solutions, but fostering collaboration and confronting the darkness within humanity itself, even in the face of environmental collapse.
It's about recognizing that healing isn't just about fixing the physical world, but also about addressing the deeper social and psychological wounds that can lead to destruction in the first place.
You were presented with a more grounded, botanical approach to apocalypse survival, focusing on nurturing life rather than fighting death directly.
Right. It's about understanding that sometimes the most powerful solutions are the ones that work in harmony with nature, rather than trying to dominate it.
What's fascinating here is how both narratives, despite their vastly different settings and threats, converge on the idea that true strength lies not just in individual power, but in connection.
Yes.
Whether it's the children of Arcane Academy finding strength in their shared experience, or the survivors in the Alhambra tentatively planting seeds together.
Absolutely. I think that's a really powerful takeaway from both stories. That in the face of overwhelming challenges, our connections to each other, our ability to empathize and collaborate, that's what gives us the strength to endure.
This raises an important question for you.
Okay.
In the face of overwhelming challenges, what do you believe is the most potent force for survival and renewal? Is it the spark of inner strength, the bonds we forge with others, or the ability to heal and rebuild the world around us? These flash fiction stories offer compelling, albeit fictional, food for thought.
You know, I think it's a combination of all those things. It's about finding that inner spark, that will to keep going. But it's also about recognizing that we don't have to face those challenges alone. We have each other, and we have the incredible capacity to heal and rebuild.
We hope this apocalyptic probe into these wild tales from flash fiction has sparked your imagination. Perhaps it's even prompted you to consider the less obvious forms that both disruption and hope can take. For more captivating stories from the Just New Keep podcast, be sure to rate and follow.
Yes, please do.
And consider this. If you were faced with either a consuming void or a poisoned earth, what small, unexpected spark would you try to ignite? We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.